Displaying your geometry in a layout viewport is the most efficient way to prepare a drawing for print. Using multiple viewports, we can represent geometry at different scales within the same title block. Where you may run into a problem is when two viewports overlap, because AutoCAD always favors the larger viewport over the smaller one, so the smaller ones are difficult to select. In this lesson, we'll learn a shortcut that makes it easy to access any viewport on a layout. On my screen, I have a drawing of an office floor plan. Let's take a look at the layout that's been set up for this file. As you can see, I only have a title block right now. I would like to create a viewport such that I can see my geometry and set it to a measurable scale. Now, I've already created a viewport layer, and I've set that current. So let's jump to the View tab. I'll click the new viewport icon. I'll select Single and OK. And then I'll select this endpoint and this one to set the viewport size. Next, I'll double-click inside the viewport boundary, and then I'll use this menu to set the scale of this viewport to 3/8 of an inch equals a foot. This looks like it'll work perfectly. Let's pan this up and over to the left slightly. I'm going to turn off the grid as well because I really don't need that displaying on my layout. When I'm finished, I'll double-click outside the viewport boundary to jump out. I would like to create one more viewport. Let's create a detail of one of the exam rooms. Once again, I'll launch the new viewport command. I'll click Single and OK. And then I will press F3 to turn off my running object snaps momentarily. And then I'll click here and here to set the size of this viewport. I will then double-click to jump in. I'll zoom in and center the view on one of the exam rooms. And then I'll set the scale of this viewport to 1 inch equals 1 foot. Let's pan this up slightly. And when I'm finished, I'll double-click outside the boundary to jump out. Now it looks like this viewport's a little tight, and I do have some room to spare. So I'm going to double-click in the larger viewport, and I'll pan this view over. Let's double-click out. I will then click to select my viewport edge, and I'll use the grips to slide this over. When I'm finished, I'll press Escape. Now, watch this. I'm going to try and jump back into this viewport. Let's double-click. Notice that AutoCAD grabbed the wrong one. I'm going to double-click out. Let's try it again. I'll double-click, and AutoCAD grabbed the wrong viewport again. In fact, AutoCAD will always favor the larger viewport over the smaller one. To access this viewport, I'm going to double-click in the large one, and then I'll press Ctrl-R. In fact, each time I press Ctrl-R, AutoCAD will cycle through each viewport on the layout, making it easy to select the one that's difficult to enter using normal methods. So, in the event you have viewports that are difficult to access, don't worry, you can easily take control of any viewport on your layout using Ctrl-R.